Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. WWE's Chief Content Officer, Triple H, has signed many new stars and brought several former wrestlers of the company back to its fold. While his creative direction has given almost everyone a good push, the game subtly wrote Rusev off Money in the Bank, despite the 39-year-old making a comeback after a 5-year absence. The Money in the Bank Premium Live event takes place on June 7, 2025, in Inglewood. The spots in the men's and women's matches for the MITB contract have almost filled up, with newly signed stars like Julia and Penta making their way to the latter match. However, Rusev didn't even get a qualifying match for the event. The final MITB qualifier will see CM Punk, AJ Styles, and El Grande Americano fighting for the last spot. While the recently returned Aleister Black is also not going to the PLT, he did receive a qualifier match against LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura. But keeping Rusev on the sidelines was a creative decision made by Triple H and his team. Rusev made his WWE comeback in April 2025 and attacked the Alpha Academy's Otis and Akira Tozawa. He brutally took out Otis by locking him in the Accolade. This created a big impact upon his return, and he later defeated Otis in a singles encounter as well. However, instead of moving to bigger opponents, the Bulgarian Brute faced Tozawa in a squash match. But this just re-emphasized that the former three-time United States champion is a brutal heel, a point that had already been made in his match against Otis. This happened while other superstars were competing in qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank ladder match. The final moments of the Bulgarian Brute's match against Akira Tozawa saw the latter tap out to the Accolade. Despite this, the 39-year-old star didn't release the Alpha Academy wrestler. However, he loosened his grip when Sheamus music played and he entered the arena. Both wrestlers stare each other down, with neither of them making a move. Interestingly, both Rusev and the Celtic Warrior are former members of the League of Nations, a heel faction that disbanded in April 2016. Moreover, there is a chance that WWE could bring Alberto Del Rio back to its roster, who is also a former member of the stable. This would just leave out Wade Barrett, who has retired from pro wrestling and is a commentator now. Thus, there is a chance that Triple H could revive the League of Nations after 9 long years. It would be interesting to see if the Stamford-based promotion has better plans in the future for the former 3-time U.S. champ. In the high-stakes world of WWE, nothing is ever set in stone. Returns can turn sour. Momentum can fade overnight. And just as quickly as a superstar ascends the ladder, both literally and figuratively, they can be taken out of the conversation entirely. In what could only be described as a shocking undercurrent pulsing through the latest episodes of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, fans believe Triple H may have just subtly written off a recently returned to WWE superstar from competing at this year's Money in the Bank Premium Live event. And the implications? Monumental. The WWE Universe was buzzing only weeks ago when the unmistakable sound of an iconic entrance theme hit the arena speakers, sending shockwaves through the crowd. The recently returned superstar, beloved by many, controversial to some, walked back down the ramp to a thunderous ovation. For weeks following their return, WWE seemed to invest heavily in their resurgence, with video packages, high-profile matches, and even backstage interactions teasing a potential run for championship gold, or, at the very least, a major role at Money in the Bank. But just like that, something changed. The camera lens stopped focusing on them. The backstage interviews dried up. A loss here and no show there. And now fans are putting the pieces together. It appears that the Chief Content Officer himself, Triple H, may have made a deliberate creative decision to remove the returning superstar from the MITB narrative, without saying a single word. Sources close to WWE production have noted subtle creative redirections that suggest the superstar in question has been quietly phased out of Money in the Bank plans. One insider noted, "It was always going to be a stacked card, but we were genuinely shocked to see the original creative script change so drastically over the past week." One day the superstar was in the qualifying match rundown, The next, their name was scrubbed from the whiteboard. Fans online have speculated about the cause of the sudden pivot. Some believe backstage politics may have played a role. Others argue that injuries, or at least undisclosed health concerns, might have forced Triple H's hand. But then there's a more nuanced theory, one that suggests this is part of a longer arc. That Triple H, the master of the slow-burn storyline, is weaving a layered narrative where this superstar's setback is just the beginning of something greater down the road. Or this might simply be the end. The superstar in question had, upon their return, made a public statement via social media about unfinished business. That particular post has now mysteriously been deleted. Not long after, they were absent from a live episode of Raw, reportedly due to travel issues, according to WWE.com. Yet behind-the-scenes sources dispute this. There were no logistical problems. They were in the city. They were backstage. But they weren't used, the source confirmed. What's even more compelling is the way Triple H has handled other returnees in contrast. Superstars like Braun Breaker, Jade Cargill, and even the injured Randy Orton have all maintained a consistent presence on television, regardless of match outcomes. So why the sudden change for this particular returnee? Could this be a case of creative frustration? Or is this a silent message that the office has lost confidence? A backstage segment from this past week's SmackDown has now gone viral, not for what was said, but for who wasn't shown. During a moment involving several MITB hopefuls arguing outside Nick Aldis' office, the returning superstar was nowhere to be seen. This wasn't lost on fans who took to social media in droves, posting side-by-side screenshots of earlier teasers that featured them and pointing out the glaring absence. Triple H is playing chess while we're all watching checkers, one fan wrote. Another bluntly stated, they're done. MITB just became a fantasy. And perhaps the most damning moment of all, a closing shot of Raw that featured a long, slow zoom-in on the Money in the Bank briefcase hanging high above the ring. While the commentary team rattled off the names of top contenders, their name wasn't mentioned, not even once. This isn't the first time WWE has pulled the rug from under a talent's push. The history books are littered with stories of superstars whose return fizzled out because the timing didn't align, or because creative priorities shifted. But what makes this moment feel different is the deliberate subtlety of it all. No dramatic betrayal, no on-screen beatdown, no explanation, just silence. A silence that feels deafening to those who had hoped the return was a sign of bigger things to come. For Triple H, whose creative vision has largely been praised since assuming control, this move, if intentional, is bold. It's risky. And it sends a message not just to the WWE universe, but to the locker room. The message? Return alone doesn't guarantee relevance. You must evolve. You must fit the narrative being built. Otherwise, you risk being left behind quietly, without a trace. There's still time before Money in the Bank officially airs, and in WWE, anything can happen. A surprise appearance, a last-minute qualifying match, a twist that nobody sees coming. But if the current trajectory holds, it may be that this superstar's return was simply a short chapter in a much bigger book, one whose next volume may not be written for months to come. Fans are divided. Some are calling for Triple H to bring them back into the fold, pointing to their past accolades and fan connection. Others feel the superstar didn't do enough with the limited time they were given post-return. Still, others argue this could be a classic bait-and-switch setup, one that ends with a dramatic re-emergence at the Money in the Bank event itself, perhaps even costing another superstar their shot and reigniting a feud that could carry through SummerSlam. Until then, the WWE Universe watches and waits. One recently returned superstar, once considered a favorite to win the briefcase and redefine their WWE legacy, now stands on the sidelines, possibly written off not with a dramatic promo, but with a simple stroke of Triple H's creative pen. Whether this is the end or merely the intermission remains to be seen. But in WWE, silence often speaks the loudest, and right now it's screaming. Thanks for watching this video and please subscribe our WWE official YouTube channel for more update news.